Welcome to Nature Calls, Conversations from the Hudson Valley. Our team's goal is to present science-based information about gardening and all things nature in New York's Hudson Valley. Our hosts are Master Gardener Volunteers for the Cornell Cooperative Extension of Columbia and Greene counties, midpoint along the Hudson River Valley. So if you're interested in gardening or nature or just nuggets of information about what's happening outside your door, listen in and enjoy the conversation. Whatever the season, we'll always have something to talk about.
Hello and welcome to Nature Calls, Conversations from the Hudson Valley. Today's episode is the first of three presented by Master Gardener Volunteer Linda Levitt about the subject of flower power. In this episode, she talks about the differences between annuals, perennials, and biennials.
Welcome to Flower Power, a regular feature of this podcast that will focus on all things flowers. I am your host, Linda Levitt, a Master Gardener Volunteer with Cornell Cooperative Extension of Columbia and Greene counties. Approximately once a month, we will cover different types of flowers, how to best select, plant, and care for them. Today, we're going to focus on the difference between annual plants and perennial plants with some others. We will focus on how each of these groupings grow and the advantages of each. Let's begin by talking about annuals. Those are plants that are identified as an annual, live for only one season. The plant will sprout, it will flower, seed, and then die, including the root system. On occasion, some annuals will drop their seeds at the end of the season, and lo and behold, you'll find yourself with those plants in the next season, maybe not in the same location, but they may appear. Annual plants have been called the flower powerhouse or bedding plants. They are bright, showy, and long blooming. These plants can add vivid color to your garden's empty spaces. Annual plants can be grown from seed or seedlings. Since they grow for only one season, they are not assigned any climate zone, for example, Zone 5. Some annuals will grow as perennials in warmer climates of the United States. Annuals are less costly than perennials, giving you the opportunity to experiment more from year to year. Annuals are also perfect for growing in containers. You can achieve continuous color in your containers or in your gardens. There are some well-known annuals that you might know: pansies, marigolds, lantana, superbells, garden moms, zinnias, alyssum, and nasturtium. Annuals are a great way to experiment, maintain constant color, and refresh your garden year after year. Next, I'd like to focus on perennial plants. Perennial plants are considered the backbone of the garden. Perennials are those plants that will continue to grow each year. Only the top portion of the plant dies annually in the fall, maintaining their growing root system, allowing reblooming in the spring. These plants will not bloom the first year of their life. Typically, a perennial plant has a root system that spreads outwards and deep and will benefit from being divided after a couple of years. Perennial plants tend to be more expensive than annual plants, but the advantage is that they will last for a longer period of time. Perennials should last at least 3 years, if not longer. Since there is a higher cost to purchasing a perennial plant, you should choose wisely, making note of the growing conditions, sun, soil, and water requirements. Perennials have a shorter bloom time than annuals, so you must think about pairing different perennials that bloom at different times during the growing season and pairing with some annuals for constant color. Perennials can be planted from bulb, seed, or plant. Some commonly known perennials are coral bells, purple coneflower, daffodils, bleeding heart, and daylilies. You may also have heard the term tender perennials. These are plants that may be hardy in their native climates, and in colder regions, they may not grow as well and will not survive the winters. You may try and keep a tender perennial alive in the colder climates by cutting the plant back and covering it with insulating mulch. Some tender perennials in the Northeast may include calla lilies, begonias, and caladiums. And then finally, there is biennial. A biennial plant completes their growth cycle in 2 seasons and do not bloom until the second year. They drop their seeds after blooming, and in 2 years, you will have new blooms. You can develop a schedule so that you can stagger the blooms from year to year. Some well-known examples of biennial plants are poppies, sweet william, and foxglove. I would like to thank you for listening to this episode of Flower Power. You will find additional information on our website regarding today's episode. Until the next time, I am Linda Levitt, and please remember to stop and smell the flowers. Hello, and welcome to this edition of Flower Power. I am your host, Linda Levitt. Today, we're going to spend a couple of minutes on a plant called lantana, an easy care, very versatile, colorful plant that is known for its long season of bloom, from late spring to frost, or in even some parts of the world, nearly year-round. Lantanas are native to tropical, warmer climates of the Americas and Africa, but you can find them in numerous areas of the world, introduced as a non-native plant. Lantana is a genus of about 150 species of the verbena family. The plant is considered an annual plant in colder climates and a perennial plant in more tropical environments. The genus includes both herbaceous plants and shrubs, growing anywhere from 1.5 feet to 6 feet tall. A common name for lantana is shrub verbenas. The generic name originated in late Latin, anywhere from the 3rd to the 6th century, where it refers to the unrelated Viburnum lantana. Now let's talk about lantana, the plant as it relates to its use in the United States. The plant is considered an annual in growing zones 1 through 8, and as a perennial in zones 9 through 11. It can propagate from seed or stem cuttings and should be planted at least 2 weeks after the danger of frost. It is considered what they call a hard-working plant that thrives in hot, dry spots, all soil types that are well drained, even in silt and sand. However, you need to make sure that you give the plant enough water until it is established. Some consider this plant as invasive due to its adaptability to so many different environments. Lantana blooms best in full sun. As a perennial, it can grow 2 to 6 feet tall and 3 to 10 feet wide. As an annual, it can grow 3 to 4 feet tall and 1 to 3 feet wide in just one season. Some species can grow upright and tall and used as great color in your garden, or trailing for spilling over in a hanging basket or container. The tiny flowers appear in clusters called umbels, umbels, and are 1 to 2 inches across and solid or multicolored. Colors range from vivid reds and oranges to muted shades of coral, pink, and peach. Some varieties even produce small berries. The nice thing about the blossoms is that the age blossoms fall off themselves, saving you the time of deadheading the plant. This plant is continuous blooming. The foliage on this plant is dark green or variegated, rough textured, and oval in shape. The leaves will give off a pungent smell if you brush up against them. But please be careful. Lantana can be toxic to children, animals, and pets, so please use caution in placing your plants. The plants are extremely attractive to pollinators, butterflies, bees, and hummingbirds. Some varieties of lantana that are very popular include a variety called bandana cherry, which is yellow, orange, and cherry red blossoms all in one bloom. And similar to that is luscious citrus blend, which is a heat-loving, vibrant red, orange, and yellow flower. It grows 3 feet tall and wide. This is an excellent trailing variety that I have used so many times in my containers. Lucky Peach is orange peach blossoms maturing to peach and pink. This is a more compact plant and not as trailing. And then there is Landmark Pink Dawn, which is a creamy yellow blossom that matured to soft pink. You may have heard of something called Lantana montevidensis. This is a wild form of the plant with a lavender purple flower. The plant can reach 3 feet tall and 4 feet wide. As I mentioned previously, this is a great plant for use in containers or hanging baskets. You will be surprised to see how fast your tiny plant grows. It has a continual bloom and will tolerate your forgetting to water it once it's established. When planting in containers, some plants to use as companion plants are Angelonia, pentas, sun-loving coleus, superbells, petunias, and salvia. All these companion plants have the same growing conditions and will do so well together with your lantana. I cannot say enough good things about this plant. Lantanas are beautiful, ever-blooming plants that require little or no maintenance when planted in the right conditions. You will enjoy their colorful existence in your containers or gardens. The color combinations lantana are numerous, from vibrant primary colors to muted corals and peaches. It is so easy to fall in love with this plant. You will be missing something in your gardens or containers if you do not include this plant. I would like to thank you for listening to this episode of Flower Power. You will find additional information on our website regarding today's episode. Until the next time, I am Linda Levitt, and please remember to stop and smell the flowers. Welcome to Flower Power, a regular feature of this podcast that will focus on all things flowers. I am Linda Levitt, a Master Gardener Volunteer with the Cornell Cooperative Extension of Columbia and Greene Counties in New York's Hudson Valley. Approximately once a month, we will cover different types of flowers, how to best select, plant, and care for each of the flowers talked about. Today, we will spend a couple of minutes talking about a genus of plants commonly called hellebores. No garden is really complete without a few of spring's first bloomers. They are called the harbingers of spring. They reflect the joy of the upcoming growing season. Plus, a bonus, they provide nectar for emerging pollinators when there are so few nectar sources available. This genus consists of approximately 20 species of herbaceous or evergreen perennial flowering plants. Some of the plants are well known by the names winter rose, Christmas rose, or Lenten rose, when actually they really have no relation at all to the rose family. The name Lenten rose came about since the flowers bloom around Easter time. The genus was first established by Carl Linnaeus sometime in 1753. He first talks about the genus in his book Species Planetarium. Various species of the genus originated in Europe and Asia, with the greatest concentration in the Balkans. A small portion of the plants came from China, Turkey, and Syria. Hellebores first appear in late winter or very early spring. The plants are surprisingly frost-resistant, and some are even evergreen. They keep their color even during the winter months. Many of the species are toxic to animals, but taste so bad, pets and animals usually do avoid them. They tend to be deer-resistant. They can grow in USDA climate zones 4 to 9. They thrive in partial shade, especially at the woodland edge. They will grow in dense shade, but may not produce many flowers. However, they have been known to adapt to more light if necessary. Plant hellebores in moist, well-draining soil that you have supplemented with compost, but be careful not to cover the crown of the plant. They prefer soil rich in organic material. Ideally, they are perfect at the woodland edge or under trees. And if you plant them under trees, they will actually thrive, bring light because of the lack of leaves on the trees, and continue to thrive in the summer months when the shade of the trees keeps them cooler. Hellebores do not like hot summer sun. You may start with 4-inch pots. They will grow very quickly. The larger plants actually have more initial impact but take longer to settle in and thrive. Plant in the spring or early fall, making sure that the ground is frost-free, and, on the other extreme, make sure the weather is not too hot. When established, the plant will grow about 18 inches high with flowers that consist of 5 large petals, which are actually sepals, first formed to protect the reproductive parts of the plant. For most species, the flowers are drooping and falling downward, so a woodland slope would actually be ideal. Some varieties, however, have been bred for their upright flowers and are used in spring bouquets. After a few years, a mature plant, in the right conditions, can produce 50 or more flowers. You should mulch every year in the fall, and do allow fallen leaves to act as natural mulch and soil conditioner. You can pull back old leaves from the foliage in late winter to expose the leaves of new blooms. Feed the plants in the fall with a balanced fertilizer like 20-20-20 used for perennials and a layer of compost and or bone meal. Each spring, prune the old foliage off as the plant starts to flower, which actually may leave bare stems, or if you don't mind the look of winter leaves, prune the old foliage as new foliage appears. Hellebores are hardy, long-lived perennials that, if grown in ideal conditions, will naturalize and spread. However, if division is necessary, ideally you would divide the plants in the early fall. Avoid the heat again of the summer sun when dividing. Divide by digging up the entire plant, cut it in half or in thirds with a sharp tool, but make sure you wear gloves when dividing since their sap can cause skin irritation. Hellebores can be planted in garden beds along with early bloomers like grape hyacinth, Virginia bluebells, crocus, and snowdrops. I actually have used hellebores in my containers as the first display in the spring. It is difficult here in the Northeast to find plants that can thrive outdoors in late March or early April. I usually plant hellebores in my containers along with pansies and heather, supplemented with corkscrew willow or pussy willow branches. Since hellebores are a perennial, you can remove them from your container and plant them right into your garden. Hellebores are prized for their early spring blooms and attractive foliage. They are an invaluable addition to the shade garden and provide early pleasure after a long winter. They are tough, cold-hardy, deer or rabbit resistant, and easy to grow, providing the possibility of evergreen foliage for year-round interest. I'd like to thank you for listening to this episode of Flower Power. I hope you enjoyed it. You will find additional information for this episode on our website. Until next time, I am Linda Levitt, and please remember to stop and smell the flowers.
Stay tuned. The second episode of Flower Power is coming up.
That concludes another episode of Nature Calls, Conversations from the Hudson Valley. We would like to thank Xandra Powers and Devin Connolly from the Cornell Cooperative Extension of Columbia and Greene Counties for production support. And a special thanks to our listeners for joining us on this episode of Nature Calls, Conversations from the Hudson Valley. You can find links to any of the topics mentioned in this episode at our website at ccecolumbiagreen.org. Comments and suggestions for future topics may be directed to us at columbiagreenmgv@cornell.edu or on the CCE Master Gardener Volunteers of Columbia and Greene Facebook page. For more information about CCE of Columbia and Greene, visit our website or visit in person during business hours at our campuses in Hudson or Acra.
Cornell Cooperative Extension provides equal program and employment opportunities in accordance with applicable laws.